Okay, here we go again. Sorry, I'm getting this all squared away. We're kind of in rush mode here. So let me see here if I can. Uh, Share live video. Let's see here. All right, let me see here. Sorry guys, I'm gonna play around with this a little bit. Okay, at least, oh, there we go. Yes, add. Boom. All right. It's adding you, Elisa. Hold on. It says it's adding you. Okay, it just declined. So hold on, I'm gonna add you again because I think something just happened here. Huh. Okay, I keep trying to add you, Elisa, and it's declining. So guys, just so y'all know, she's joining us from London. So there's some possible connectivity issues just from that. So and it's gonna be a really good show. Let's see here. Okay, what do we got here? Okay. Gotta love technology, right? Let's see. Um, okay, let's see. Okay, guys, for all those of you that are joining on right now, I'm waiting on Elisa. We had an issue with the Be Live platform, and so in the last minute haste, we're working on just utilizing Facebook's live platform, and I'm waiting on her to be able to log in. It's going to be an extremely interesting interview today when she gets on. I apologize. I'm just paying attention here, trying to see when she hops on. So as soon as she does, we will go. Let's see here. Pull up. Okay, just a second. She's working on something. So she's overseas and she's over in London right now. And so we had a little bit of a connectivity issue with the Be Live platform, which is what we use here for the show. Oh, there she is. Okay, so let's see. Please work, please work. There we go.
There. Oh my gosh, finally.
Hey Lisa, I'm so sorry. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want you to be all in a. Yeah, this
Oh
tends to
my god.
create some energy issues whenever we do that. So,
Yes, it's interesting.
so you good? You good? You breathing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's like that breathing exercise before an event,
Yeah,
It's better for you to start it later because you can just breathe in and breathe out and take your time, right?
absolutely. Well, I appreciate you
That's
taking the
good.
time to be on here and being so persistent. I'm glad we didn't have to postpone or anything.
Oh, yes, actually, because you know what? The second time I haven't had my phone, turned up the right direction, so it's good now. You can see me well, right?
I can see you perfectly. Yeah, so
Okay,
uh,
can you
I
hear me well?
I can hear you great. Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me
Oh,
okay?
that's awesome, awesome. Yes, we can
Okay.
start.
Well, I want to
Everything's
introduce
going.
you to everyone real quick, and then we can kind of dive in and get the show going because I want to be respectful of
Oh,
your time. But so for
okay.
everyone that's on this video, thank you, thank you, thank you for being persistent and staying on with us throughout this whole just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Today, my goal with this show is to introduce you to the men, and in this case, woman, who build the world and create lives of impact, so that we can celebrate them and work together to fulfill the call of masculinity in our communities, in our homes, and in the world. Today's guest is a leading expert in the subject of men's intimacy and relationships. Her raw, no nonsense, yet graceful approach to tackling traditionally repressed subjects that collectively we need to understand better is changing the lives of men all over the world. Between her Shameless podcast, her popular private Facebook group, and coaching, men are approaching this God-given experience with a healthy awareness that is providing a myriad of unspoken benefits outside of the relationship that we traditionally experience. Everyone, please help me welcome the lovely and knowledgeable Elisa Popescu.
Hey guys. Hey Eric. Hey Joseph. I
Awesome.
see some known names over here. Thank you so much, Corey, for the intro.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate being here with you, and I can't wait to get the show started.
Yeah, so I'm actually extremely fascinated by you and kind of what you're doing and your story and everything. And between all of the background, I was kind of in doing some of the prep work and the research about just kind of your past and everything. And you come from a pretty heavy fitness background and personal development and
Yeah.
psychology and marketing, and you have a pretty, it's diverse, but it all works together in this really interesting ecosystem. And I'm really just want to start out for everyone and kind of explore what got you started in the arena of helping with men's intimacy and relationships, and what was the catalyst to kind of get you going on that?
Thank you for asking this. I actually saw that coming, and it's always a pleasure to go back to it because I really believe that the thing that I'm doing here has chose me, and I haven't actually choose it because all my life has been like really guiding me towards it. And when I say this, I'm thinking about the earliest moments of my life when I was actually um, not in high school, but before, in the first grade. And somehow I had an old soul, and my mates were, guided towards me to ask me questions about relationships and how do they handle certain challenges. It's an interesting fact, right? And throughout my life, I was so curious about how men and women think. I have observed my parents, their relationship, the dynamic between them. Then I have observed other couples, and I gained this knowledge. But then again, I went to study marketing. I was super passionate about nutrition and fitness. I went into that, but the universe put it that way that I had to coach mainly men. So it was very interesting because you know what? A lot of times when they go into a gym, men also need not only a personal trainer, but a confidant. And it was
Hmm.
a very interesting time for me because I get to really listen deeply to a lot of men and gain some insight into how they think, how they feel, and what their challenges are in regards to relationships, intimacy, and women. And here I am today.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that, and it's interesting because it seems that in today's culture, and with today being Valentine's Day, happy Valentine's Day, by the way. I don't suppose that y'all celebrate that over in Europe, do you?
Yes, we do actually. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
In London over here, a lot of hearts of chocolate, and not only. So I think it's everywhere right now.
Excellent. Okay, that's good to know. So today's kind of that special day, and I'm hoping that the men in here remembered and kind of took initiative on that this morning, and so that their women felt loved and all that. But you know, the funny thing is, in today's culture, it seems, or at least in the United States, that the concept of masculinity is under attack, and there's a lot of confusion with men, right? And just understanding who they are, what's acceptable. There's not a lot of role models in the world of what it means to be a
Yeah.
man, or at least that a lot of men are struggling that. We have a high rate of fatherlessness. There's all kinds of issues that are perpetuating that, and then on top of that, you throw in the idea of talking about sexual relationships and intimacy and all that, and it seems to be a lot of shame built around that. Um, let's kind of dive into that for a minute because I know that that's your big kind of differentiator is that shameless component. Uh, why is that so important to you?
Ah, I will get to this specific answer. But first of all, I just want to share something with you and all the guys in this
Okay.
group because I feel it's super important. I share with all my clients, and I feel that it really sets the tone and it really helps you get a bigger picture on relationships and the purpose of relationships so that you can go through life and through the challenges that you face as a man or as a woman with a deeper understanding. And my personal belief is that relationships are a gift from God. Relationships might be the most painful yet rewarding process of growth you will attend here on earth. And the relationship with your woman is the perfect reflection of the relationship you have with yourself.
That's
Now,
powerful.
when you allow these three things to sink deeply into you, it will give you the power to go through life's struggles and challenges without falling into the daily drama of relationships and of interactions, within, not only in your intimate relationships, but usually in relationships. You have to see the bigger picture. You have to keep an eye on the bigger picture and then dive deeply into it and see how you can navigate and get the best out of it, because at the end of the day, relationships, or better said, your partner, is a soul assignment, right? It's your soul's assignment, and that's what you're here for. You're not here to give up on your partner. You're here to give up on the things within yourself that don't allow you to feel the love in your partner as purely and as deeply as you felt it in the beginning, right?
That's
So
powerful.
I really wanted to, to share this with you priorly to
Thank you.
getting to the shameless aspect, right? My pleasure. So let's go back to the shameless thing, right? Because when I started the Shameless Academy, my idea was to bridge the gap between sexuality and spirituality.
Okay.
But for me, spirituality, and in essence, self-mastery, the work with yourself, is the foundation of everything, of every relationship, of every success that you can have in this lifetime. Now, the shameless component has a lot to do with self-love, with accepting yourself and expressing yourself to the world as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And shame is not something that we are born with, right? That's the interesting thing. We are
Yeah.
not born shameful, we are actually born shameless. But it's something that somehow we lose along the way. Now, it impacts us the most in our intimate relationships, because with your partner, you have to have the ability to really be transparent, not only vulnerable, but like really transparent when it comes to your sexual desires, when it comes to your spiritual needs. That's a complexity of interactions that have place within a relationships. And if you hold back from your partner, there's no chance for you to not hold back from the world. So you get stuck, not, expressing yourself fully.
Yeah.
You're not giving yourself 100%, neither to your partner nor to the world, and everyone is at loss.
That's really interesting because as you're talking and I'm kind of seeing how this can play out, and I only have reference to the United States, so forgive me for that, but um, it seems that if you aren't in a relationship where you can actually kind of talk openly, and that's not always just something that is wrong with let's use me for an example, right? But like if I'm going into
Yeah.
a relationship and I'm not able to talk openly with my partner, uh, that's not only necessarily my downfall, right? It could be that whenever we try to have conversations with our partner, that it's like responded to in a really awkward way, or there's a lot of shame attached to that partner side of it. So it creates this dynamic of being too much work or explosive or something like that, to the point where it's just easier not to talk about it.
Yes, it is. I wrote at some point extensively on how can we not be tempted or stop being tempted to change our partners, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, just as you say, it's like, okay, but I'm doing these things. I don't get the response that I would love to. What's going on? I might as well, throw in the towel and just, switch my focus on something else.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, and let's just take an example with within a relationship, right? A man and a woman. And the man seems to like do everything that he can to get to a certain place or certain let's say peace with his woman, and she simply doesn't connect. Well, sometimes it's not about the fact that you don't do that thing right specifically. It's about the core emotional needs that you fail to satisfy in your woman. And that's when she becomes unreceptive to anything else. Okay?
Mm.
So it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, but I'm doing everything. Like I hear this from men every single day. And I tell them, you're doing everything, but you're not doing everything that she desires, that she needs, that she wants, right?
Right.
You can buy her flowers. If her love language is not gift, it means nothing to her, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how you love to love somebody. It doesn't matter how you love to be loved. It only matters how your woman wants to be loved. And I think that there are two big mistakes that men do in relationships, women as well. The first thing is that they love the way they want to be loved. If you want more sex, you don't want to be touchy and all physical with your woman, and maybe your woman doesn't want to be loved that way. It's not her main love language. And we're going to get to these love languages because I want to share with your men in the group the concept of it. But the thing is that people usually love their partners how they want to be loved. Big mistake. And the second one is that they don't get to fully like sit down and talk openly about their partner's needs to really understand them. Because we have like 10 core emotional needs that we have to satisfy in our partners, but depending on the level of masculine energy and masculine and feminine energy within our partners, there are certain needs that prevail in men and certain needs that prevail in women. If you don't sit down with your woman and talk openly about what are her specific needs, you're going to continue to fail in satisfying her. You're going to get frustrated and she's going to get even more frustrated, and then that's when the sexual chemistry starts to erode,
Yeah.
and it's just going down, down, slowly down, you know.
So, I mean, assuming you've done a lot of work with men, and I know that you work with women also. It seems, or at least from what I could tell, is that the case? You work with women as well, or just
Yes,
primarily men?
yeah. But primarily men. I actually love working with men, and it's what I attract on a daily basis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so inside of that, like what you just said about that whole understanding how to talk with your woman, kind of paying attention to those clues that are already there, and then how is she loving you, and then using that as an opportunity to kind of understand how she wants to be loved. Um,
Exactly.
what would you say to someone who's kind of they're in like a bit of a darker spot, and maybe there is no exchange of that love at all. It's very cold at home and all that kind of stuff. So, because I know a lot of men that it's hard, it's easy to get into that place for some of these guys, and so they go and they find value in their work or in other things that are not necessarily related to the home, and that actually hurts them, a lot. I think ultimately
Yeah.
in how their output, is coming around. So, how do they begin to kind of mend that?
hmm That's a very good question. And it's very good you asked this question. And I'm just going to get straight to the subject.
Yeah, good luck.
If when they married, if when they got together, there was love, right? There was sexual attraction, there was chemistry. There are chances for them to go back to that. Now, I'm going to share a very, very interesting concept with you, and I guess that all the men who are going to watch this video are going to love it tremendously. When we enter in a relationship, there are a lot of beautiful things that we do in the discovery phase, right?
Hmm.
And everything that we do, it's like a deposit in the love bank, right? Let's imagine that between man and woman, there is something called the love bank. And when we meet, when we connect, when we discover each other, we do a lot of beautiful things. And then we add into that love bank account for each other, right?
Absolutely.
Now, when we get into the depth of a relationship, into the mundane of a relationship, we start doing things that not only disturb our partners, right, or hurt our partners, but we, by doing this, we withdraw from the love bank account that we have built in time, right?
Hmm.
And every time we do something that's disturbing or hurting our partners, we make a withdrawal. Now, throughout time, if your love bank account is on the negative, there will you will start to feel a lot of sexual frustration, and not only sexual frustration, for men, it starts with sexual frustration. For women, it's a lot of distance, like emotional distance. Where there's emotional distance, there is definitely a lack of sexual engagement, because that's how women react when they disconnect emotionally, they disconnect physically as well, right?
Okay.
So the thing with a guy that's in that position, he has to realize that he just didn't got there just because. He got there doing specific things, and now he can go back to that positive love bank account if he starts to do the right thing. But guess what? It cannot happen overnight, because the withdrawal was not made overnight, right?
Yeah.
Unless sometimes men cheat, they are caught. That's a huge withdrawal, right? That's a huge, big one, big fat one.
Yeah.
But what's more interesting is that a lot of breakups are not because the man cheated one time. It's because the man has been doing little wrong things throughout time, and those have really bruised that love bank. And you get to a point where you simply don't feel the connection, and it's
Yeah.
something just natural, because you haven't invested in your relationship as you should, right? So from that black dark spot, you can get back to what it was, but it does take time and investment. And I think that the fear that a lot of men have is the fact that they are doing this alone, that their women don't want to get involved in this, and
Hmm.
they fear that the investment will be equal to zero, right? Because they seem to put in the effort and nothing changes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when you've really done things that hurt your woman, it's it really takes a lot of time and effort to get back to that brighter place. It's not impossible. Sometimes women will say, I'm not signing up for this and I don't have the patience, and that's fine. But if you have a woman with you who says, you know what, I'm in here for the long run. I may not be able to actually put in the same work as you, but I'm here and I want to make this relationship work, then you've got a chance, right? But you got
Right.
to do certain things specifically, and those certain things are about fulfilling the needs that women have. And I'm curious who wants to know about those needs.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody wants to know about that. Absolutely. I mean, that's that
Okay.
the today being today, I really want the guys to walk away with something that can really be transformative in their relationships.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very good, because that was my intention, before going live with you. I always set intentions for the things that I do, especially for the conversations that I have.
right.
And I really want to give them some golden nuggets to really feel empowered, and take this day to be like the first day of the rest of their lives, if
Yeah,
they
that's
are
great.
really in a dark place in their relationship, okay?
Amazing.
So if you are with a very feminine woman, that means that she is caring, peaceful, loving. She loves to delight in her femininity. And especially you are with this kind of woman if you are a masculine guy. And I guess you guys talk about a lot about masculinity in this group. Men know exactly what I talk about when I say being a masculine man.
Right.
Masculine men usually attract feminine women because of the polarity that's created between them, right? And if you have to deal with this kind of woman, the five core emotional needs that she expects somehow for you to satisfy are affection. Affection is the first one. Intimate conversation. Okay.
I'm
Think
writing.
think like really let this sink deeper, because affection and intimate conversations are the first thing that women crave. Men see these and sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, you really want to talk about that again? Oh my gosh, look at her. Like she needs the cuddle. Like I just hugged you, I just kissed you. You're so, you're so sticky. I can't get over you. So the thing is that a feminine woman would always delight in being affectionate with her man and having those intimate conversations. And I know that a lot of men, when they hear "babe, I want to talk to you," they are like, "Oh my gosh, don't just drag me into that, rabbit hole again." But the thing is that it happens, and And you have to be aware that these are her first core emotional needs to satisfy. Okay? And before going to
Those
the third
two.
one,
Yeah.
I want to ask you. I know that you've got insight. Where do you think right now men stumble in satisfying these two core emotional needs in their women? What do you find is the most challenging?
Uh, well, I think, at least in my like case, I think a lot of times is my head is on building the business and kind of just, you're constantly trying to build, and so it's easy to kind of just take for granted that you've got that locked up, for now, or that everything's okay. And so you just
Yeah,
like you work and you're burning the midnight oil and you're making things happen and you're out going to networking events and negotiating and doing all the stuff that you need to do. And then it's, you kind of turn around and it's like, oh, okay, we got to put the attention back over here for a little while. So I think it's not purposeful a lot of times, I think, but it's more, it just happens, right? Because you're trying to balance a bunch of things. When you're motivated to build things and to make things better, it's, there's a lot of things vying
yeah,
for your attention. So I think that's probably it.
exactly. And the thing is that men are so focused on their purpose, their work, and it's for a good reason because they want to provide. And when they come home and your woman is like, I really feel the need to have that talk. You
Yeah.
gotta make the time, right? Because that's her priority. You've got priorities, and we're gonna talk about your needs as well, but her need is to really deeply connect. And if you don't make time for that, you can just as well, get out the door because it's like the same thing. You're not there. If you're not present emotionally, it's like you wouldn't be present physically, or
Yeah.
even worse, right?
Right.
Okay. The third core emotional need that a woman expects to for you to satisfy is her need for honesty and transparency from you. Uh, this is
Wait,
such a
so you're
huge
saying
one.
that women crave honesty?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, you know that like I personally have yet met a woman or a man who wouldn't be disturbed by her partner or his partner cheating, right?
Oh, that kind of
So
honesty. Yeah. I think whenever I
no,
hear you say
that's
that,
that's
uh,
that's the hardest one, right?
yeah.
That's but
Okay.
what I
Cool.
want to say is that it's not only about that one. That one is like going cold turkey. It's just too much to
Yeah. Yeah.
handle for a lot of.
Yeah.
But then again, there are other moments in which partner feel like, oh, I could be, I could like escape from saying this because maybe I don't want to bother my partner. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. The thing with men is that, and it's a very interesting link between honesty and masculinity. When you have the power to own your truth, it doesn't matter that it's hurtful in the moment for a woman. All it matters for her is to see that you've got the power to own your truth and you've got the integrity to speak your truth in front of her. Okay?
That's very important what
That
you just
is,
said. I think because that was a big counter or a big change inside of my relationship with my wife was whenever I was like, regardless of how I knew that it was going to impact like that immediate situation or her being mad. But what I've also going back to your initial question or just a minute ago about some of the things that holding back, one of the things that I've really encountered is that men are not good at articulating their needs or that, right? It, they don't know how to communicate it well, and so they don't. And so it's kind of like this they know it up here, but they don't know how to get it out of their mouth in a way that is actually building the situation.
okay, so you say that they don't know how to communicate what specifically?
Whatever they're thinking, right? So if,
What
yeah, so in regard to what you're talking about is like maybe they want to talk to their partner about something, their wife about
yeah,
something, but they know it feels kind of weird and crazy in here, but they don't know how to get it out of here because they're not used to talking like women are, right?
yeah, yeah. But I think that men get blocked because they also believe that women have specific expectation on how they communicate, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely
But
a set expectation.
but sometimes women,
Yeah,
I mean, women don't have a certain. Some women have, right? Some women have, but that's their thing to work on. But usually and generally, a woman would be super happy if you would just tell her the truth. It doesn't mean for you to get into like huge details. It doesn't mean for you to talk about feelings as she talks about feelings. Honesty means stating, even saying, you know what, I don't feel comfortable about talking about this. It has nothing to do with you. Maybe it's me, it's my mind. I don't function just as you. But for you to take the time and to tell, hey, I'm not being comfortable, or hey, listen, this is what happened, or hey, I didn't like the way you looked at that guy. Even these things who make men feel very vulnerable, right? And they might say, I might not, I might not communicate this. It might make me feel weak or be seen as weak or less confident by my woman.
Yeah.
Being very honest with how you feel in the moment, and even your and especially, not even especially, your boundaries, it's super important, necessary, and even attractive for women. Because when you are honest, it's like it's just a synonym for you um really, drawing the line, respecting yourself, just loving yourself as much as you can, to accept your boundaries, communicate them, shamelessly, as I talked before. That's a huge thing. So women don't expect you to get into all these like get into all these juicy details as we do,
Yeah.
but we do expect to know what's going on with you. And if there's nothing going on with you, you can simply say, you know what, I'm just in my head, I just feel the need to just be alone, nothing else. You don't have to worry for anything, because women worry a lot. They have this stream of thoughts. They actually believe you are just like them, just like a hairy woman,
Yeah.
It's a funny comparison. You're not a hairy woman. Women should know this, but not all of women know this, and they just act as if their men would be hairy women. And I do this. I do something similar sometimes, and I ask, "Hey, babe, what are you thinking about?" Because when I see him like looking into the space, and I'm like, "Hey, what you're thinking about?" and I'm so curious to get deeper, and he's like, "Believe me, I'm just standing here, I'm just being." And then I'm like, okay, me and my, feminine chatter, sometimes it's a tendency, but
Yeah.
it's good. It's just enough for you to say, hey, I'm just sitting here and enjoying this. It's nothing that you should worry about. And this specific phrase is gold, because usually women ask what's going on with you when they feel that you are not present, you're thinking about something. They just want to know what's going on. And if you say, baby, it's nothing that you should worry about, it's like gold,
Yeah.
It's
That's
an
really helpful.
invitation for relaxation.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay. But I really want us to tackle something, and I guess you want us to tackle this as well. Um, the idea of honesty in a relationship, either it's a long-term or a short-term relationship. If you have cheated on your woman, right? A lot of men ask me, how do I play this out, right? Like, do I shut up my mouth? Do I just share it? Some men say like, oh, I should share it because I feel like it's just, it's so heavy on my heart, right?
Yeah.
And it should have been heavy on your heart when you have done it, right? um, but
Right.
to
Yeah.
but to think
Yeah.
about the bigger picture, and I want to answer this question because I guess that a lot of men are still questioning themselves. What should they do? I invite those who actually have been through these situations, or unfortunately are in this moment, to think deeper about their values in life and what type of relationship they are longing for. If you are a guy, or better said, a man of virtue, you wouldn't have gotten in this place. But if you are a man who wants to reach that place of integrity, you really have to dig deep and wash this dirt from within. And
Mm-hmm.
the first thing is to really own what you've done, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's very hard. Not sometimes, it's usually very hard to do this. It's hard to hurt someone. But if you want like a long-term relationship based on honesty, you will have to have the power to risk and say the truth, right? In a context, especially in a context when you're half caught or caught, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for games. There is no time for games. If you know you want to be in a totally different place in your life at some point, because it's not easy to go from like a cheater to a man of virtue. But if you know that you want this, you really have to cut all these temptations to fall back in your behavior, in your little self, because we all have a greater self, and that little self that makes us do shitty things, right?
Yeah.
So if you really want to get rid of that, you have to act from a place of integrity, from your higher self, and in that moment actually risk to lose that woman by telling the truth. I feel that this is ground zero, right?
Yeah.
This is the level where, I mean, it's like hitting rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
And there's a quote that I absolutely love. It says, rock bottom is the best place to start a new story.
That's good.
So if you're in that place, just commit to start a new story by changing from within and doing the things that you haven't done. Being honest, being truthfully honest. You will hurt people by doing that, but at the same time, you won't lie to people by doing that. And that's the most powerful thing. Okay, because we all
That's
have lessons to learn. Relationships are spiritual assignments. I hold on to this. It's my belief, and it's the foundation on which I coach, man. If you're in this kind of position, know that God has lent you an opportunity to go to your higher self, right? To reach that highest potential that you can achieve. So it's your time to do the right thing, right?
yeah.
So be honest, guys. Be honest.
So I'm not sure how many guys have, I mean, in the group, because we've never really kind of taken a poll on that, I guess, or, we haven't really discussed that. But as
Yeah,
far as men having had an affair or anything like that, but I can totally see how that would play off into anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be that detrimental or that atomic, you know.
yeah,
I think it could, to your point, I think it could come down to just, like anything, like, hey, whatever, I mean, whatever it is that you got going on in your life, but that brutal honesty and being able to just, look in the mirror and be
yeah,
like, hey, I'm sorry. Like even just getting into an argument, even, and instead of, walking around like, well, she deserved it or whatever else, but actually taking the time to look at it and just be like, I feel bad about that. I'm sorry, right? And being able to do that,
mhm,
uh, it's huge.
yeah,
And I love what you're saying. And, there's a lot of wisdom in what you're saying for sure that can be applied to many facets of life, not just in our relationship with our spouse, but in business and
exactly.
with our children and everything. So,
Yeah, you have to draw from it what you find, you resonate with, and just let that sink in your life. You said something about arguments earlier on in your
yeah, well,
face.
so, well, I
And I
mean,
rem yeah,
go ahead.
I remember something. It's something that I hold dear to my heart. And when I have an argument, I try to, do that thing. It's something that a Romanian priest actually recommended to couples, usually to couples, who get into an argument. And I talked about this in some of my posts. And he says, when you argue, hold each other's hands and see for how long will it last.
Hmm. While you're arguing, just go hold each other's hand or after.
Yeah, so when you argue, hold each other's hands and see for how long will it last.
Huh.
And if you will, like, if you are willing to give this a try, I mean, I hope you're not arguing, but if all couples argue at some point or have, little conflicts,
Yeah.
I've seen this making a huge difference, and I actually haven't put it into practice after I've heard it. I have put it into practice before because my lover happens to be that kind of person. When he feels like there's a conflict going on, he's very touchy. He comes closer, and I see myself being incapable of holding the wall that I usually would put, you
Hmm.
know. And I recommend this to guys because, man, a lot of men have a bigger ego. And when they fight, especially when they feel like they're right, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just not gonna back up. I'm not gonna be that nice, stupid guy who is like always, you're right, you're right.
Right.
Now, I challenge you next time when this kind of unfortunate situation happens, for you to actually not say a thing, like not say a thing, not that she's right or you're wrong, but just go closer to her and hug her. If she doesn't allow you to hug her, because sometimes women get just a bit aggressive, you can
Hmm.
simply touch her. When you feel like she's a little bit more relaxed, go closer. If you are more forceful and let's say you're taller, bigger, and you can simply like catch her without her, being able to move, do this. I know it sounds childish, it may be like funny but it works tremendously because when we argue, it's not our hearts that argue, our souls that argue, it's our minds, our egos. We feel like we are separated, there's something that doesn't work, we are not on the same page. But when you guys connect on a physical level, those energies blend and something happens because the hearts are heart to heart, right?
Yeah.
And the energy in the hearts just blend together and they are way more powerful than the brain waves, right?
Yeah.
The heart electric field of the heart, the magnetic field of the heart is way more powerful than the brain field. So in those moments, there's something happening there, right? And
That's
that's a
interesting.
magic that you cannot get to with your brain in that moment, with your judgment in that moment.
Yeah.
So stop the judgment and give her a hug. Okay?
That's funny. I have two thoughts on that. So first of all, the first thought would be that your point about going and grabbing a hold of your woman while y'all are arguing to me would be like going and trying to grab a rabbit alley cat, in the middle of an alley and try to steal away it. Right? You better be ready to walk away with some wounds, right? So no, I'm just kidding. But the other part of that is the energy you were talking about that the heart emits, and this is just kind of a random fact I found interesting that I learned the other day was that if you take a petri dish and you were able to take a dissected piece of heart, and you could actually separate the cells, which you can. They have a solution that will dissolve the whatever it is, the lining or whatever that holds the cells together. Each of those cells will beat at its own rate, like so from the same heart, right? But each cell would beat at its own like, they could be doing that. And then when you bring the cells together, they actually take on the same beat. So it's only when
The
they're
same.
connected that they take on the same beat. And I was like, wow, I mean, there's something really deep to learn there. And I think you just kind of tied it together was that, inside of that. And that's why intimacy is such an amazing thing when it's done, in a way that's like legitimate and, in a way that's redemptive, right? And
Exactly.
yeah, I think,
Exactly.
there's a lot to be learned in the things that we don't quite understand all the way, and really like taking time to kind of dive into that and explore it. So that's good.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It is because you grow as you learn about these things, you grow as a person. It really helps with your personal development, and it's like it's pretty much entangled, right? The more you grow as a person, the more goodies you bring into your relationship. Now, the more you devote yourself to your relationship, it really humbles you and allows you to grow as a person, on a spiritual note.
Yeah.
So it's powerful. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, I want us to really catch back with the needs for women, right? Because we've
Yeah.
got to the four
The
need,
four.
right?
Yep.
Okay, so the four need for a woman, it's basically something that a lot of men, I'm not talking about the guys in your group, but a lot of men hold on from. It's financial support.
Okay.
So this is a core emotional need for a woman, regardless of how much money she does. Okay, so it's not like okay, I'm dating this super rich and successful woman, and that means that she's got no need for this. It's
Yeah.
not about the money; it's about your position about this thing, right?
Yeah.
So financial support for women, if you are able to have an open heart. I'm not saying like an open mind, a really open heart, because a woman can feel this. If you are really having an open heart about this, it means that you own your role as a man, right? You honor your role as a man. I think it's deeply linked with what it means to be a man, right?
Yeah.
To be a provider, to protect the woman, and do all these things that demonstrate the fact that neither our bodies are made the way they are made just because. There's a reason why, and I'm gonna get a bit physical with this one,
Yeah, for sure. No,
and
that's
get
perfectly fine. Yeah.
men of life with this in this one. If we think about our bodies, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you know about the chakras, the points through which energy flows in our bodies. There are 7 main chakras, right? And the first one, it's in the genital area. Okay, so the first chakra, it is called the root chakra, and it's the chakra that has to do with survival, right? With feeling safe and grounded. And in that zone, in that genital area, men have a protrusion, right? In the form of a penis, and women have a vagina, which is basically the space in which the penis resides in his most happy, let's say, state, right?
Right.
There is a reason why we are built this way. Men are bigger in that area because men have a stronger root chakra. And because they have this stronger root chakra, they have a stronger capacity to provide. And it's actually their duty to do so because they have what it takes to do so. Okay. They are the ones who come with the groundness, with the stability. And the woman, it's actually the one who takes in and gets charged by a man's capacity to be stable, to be still, as I like to say, and to be generous, to provide for her.
Yeah.
Now, if we think a bit upper, right? The second chakra is the sacral chakra. And that chakra is bigger in women because that's how we complete each other. It's the womb, right? The womb, it's where the baby resides. And it's
Hmm.
very interesting. Men do not have this capacity to, to hold a baby. That's where the woman thrives. And it's also the center of creativity. That's why when you put a feminine woman and you like cage her and you're like, okay, go to your a 9-hour job, and provide alongside with me, and maybe she's doing something that has nothing to do with allowing herself to express her creativity to take care of the baby.
Hmm.
It's very harmful for her energy, right? And she feels like when a woman is put in that situation, pay attention to this, is very interesting. She tries to draw the energy from her creative center to the first center, the root chakra, because she has to have energy for survival, right? She has to provide for herself and she's fearful. And because she draws energy from that center, which is the sexual creative center, she won't be able to actually have sex with you and delight with that because she doesn't have energy for that.
Hmm.
How many women who are frustrated with their work and with their husbands who actually ask them, how much money have you brought to the table? How many of these women have sexual fulfillment in their relationship?
Oh
How
yeah,
many?
yeah. Probably not very many.
Okay. And the problem is that a woman doesn't have to be forced to drain from her sexual energy, creative energy, to make ends meet, right?
Yeah.
When she's in a relationship with a man, I'm not saying that a woman doesn't have to work. All I'm saying is that you don't have to allow her to get in that position where she is fearful, where she feels stressed for her life, where she feels like if I'm not going to do this, I am going to die, right? Because
Yeah.
there's this fear inside of us that we are not going to survive, right? And now the third chakra is the solar plexus. And this one is bigger in men. It has a lot to do with confidence, with power, with your capacity to express yourself in the world, to dominate the world around you, to just be a force in the world. And it's very
Hmm.
interesting because a lot of guys have this. A man who is in his masculine energy has this, right?
Yeah.
And a woman, when she's holding when she's holding her man close, she feels like she can take from his energy, right? And
Hmm.
when she takes from that energy, that confidence that a man has, she actually fuels her heart, which is the fourth chakra. And the fourth chakra is a chakra which is bigger in women. That's why women have breasts, right? It's something different on a physical level as well, right?
Hmm.
Men have bigger abs. Usually they are, thicker in this area. Men have smaller abs, but then they have they have this protrusions here, okay? So
Yeah.
you can see in the human body that it gives you hints on how we as men and women actually
Hmm.
intertwine with each other and are here to support each other, okay?
Yeah.
So back to the need that we have for financial support, you can see it in our physical bodies as well, okay? So if you don't own this as a man, I think you're gonna have a big problem in your relationship.
That's super fascinating. It just opened up like a whole other level of conversation. And I know we're kind of, yeah, I want to be respectful of your time and
Like,
kind of, but this
yeah.
is super fascinating to me. Um, and you know that whole the chakra thing, I understand. I've heard of it. I don't really know a ton about it. It's not like a practice that I'm typically used to, you know, like diving into, but all that. But like the way that you just explained it makes a ton of sense. And I mean, there's definitely something to a lot of what you just said. And it kind of brings me to this point, and again, I don't have a bearing on Europe and all that kind of stuff, but over here in the United States, we've got what seems to be just an out of control spin on this battle of like of sex, right? I mean, like, well, women want to be men, men want to be women. Like, nobody knows what the hell is going on anymore. It's just like a total like a clown show, you know, and I'm just sitting here like, what is going on, you know, and it's like, it almost seems daunting, you know, and it's like, what in the heck, like, why is all of that going down? Because, and to your point, you know, we've got uh, a massive issue with fatherlessness and single family homes with mothers raising their children, which I get, I'm not knocking that and trying to, you know, push
Yeah.
down on them at all, but yeah, women aren't capable of building men. They can do what they can, and they're definitely an aspect of that, right? But they need fathers in the home to develop that. And then, you know, I kind of see this huge correlation between the lack of fulfill like of the needs and desires of a man, the way they view it, which is basically perpetuating the lack of desires and needs of a woman in the home, which creates a rift, which creates a complete division in the home. Then now the
Yeah.
kids aren't getting their desires and needs met, which it's creating this huge like whirlwind of just, I mean, confusion and all that. And I feel like a lot of it's just born out of that. What do you think?
I think that you've got a responsibility, like once you have a child in this world, you have to really be responsible about the relationship that you have with your spouse. And why I'm
Yeah.
saying this is that when spouses don't take care of each other's needs, what happens is that they are thrown back to their child self, right? To that
Mm-hmm.
little wounded child. All the shadows pop out, and there you have it. Two big children, arguing with each other, and two little children, possibly, who are actually looking at the big children and asking themselves what the heck is going on, right?
Yeah.
And basically mirroring them and doing the same things later on in life. So, as a parent, you have to be responsible at least with understanding your partner needs and committing to satisfying this if you want to actually have a satisfying marriage, a long life commitment. I am all for monogamy. Let's just put it this way, because I
Yeah.
coach men and I had to do with men who had other beliefs, but my belief and my creed is that we are capable of being in monogamous relationships and being happy in monogamous relationships and satisfied as long as we do the work, as long as we take the time and invest in understanding how our psychology works, right?
Yeah.
Men and women, understanding our partners specifically. And then if you don't have the spiritual understanding of relationships, it won't help, right?
Yeah.
Because as I said in the beginning of our conversation, it's important to see the bigger picture. Hey, your relationship is here to teach you a lot. It's not here to pamper you all the time. You're not going to be happy all the time, right? Happiness is a state. You are going to go through a lot of shit. Your partner is going to actually show you all their shadows. That's what you're there for. You are
Yeah.
going to show them all your shadows. You're going to feel shitty about this. You're going to
Yeah.
feel shameful about this. You are going to struggle. Maybe you are going to be attracted to somebody else throughout your marriage or your relationship. You have to figure out why. You are not in that relationship to give up on the relationship. You are in that relationship to understand what you have to change within you to be happy with your spouse. Because the thing is that if you're going to give up on that partner, I promise you that the next one will be just a little bit better in the beginning, and then all the things that you have dealt with in your previous relationship are going to pop back again, and you're going to feel even more frustrated that you give up a good woman or a good man just to for a fantasy, for an illusion. Because there's a saying, wherever you go, there you are. If you do not change, nothing
Mm.
changes. Seriously,
That's so
nothing.
good. I love that saying. I've never heard that before, but that's really powerful.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
I love that.
it
Wherever you go, there
too.
you are. I love it. I'm gonna write it
Yeah,
down real quick.
yeah.
So, um,
Okay. So the fifth one, the fifth need, okay? So because just to tell men exactly what they have to they have to deal with,
yeah,
besides the financial support and everything that we talked, it's the commitment, the family commitment. So women have this need to know that you are committed. Whenever they feel that you are checked out of the relationship, they just close emotionally, close sexually, and boom,
yeah,
because no woman wants to feel that she is invested in a man who's not committed, right?
hmm,
Around usually around the age of 30, a woman feels the need to settle down, have a family, not necessarily, but a lot of times it happens around this age. And then, like, she could be with an amazing guy, but if he's not down to commit to her, it's like she's going to move on, right?
right,
Because there's an intrinsic need inside of her, and if you don't want to fulfill that, it just feels daunting to her soul, and she cannot, and even if she stays with you, she's not going to be happy. And if she's not communicating this to you, or you're not knowing about this need, you can be like, but hey, I'm taking you into these expensive vacations, and I'm buying you these beautiful things, and I'm here with you, and what's missing? And maybe she'll say like, you know because we're not engaged yet, and you're like, but you know what, why would we do this, why would we do this, we're so happy, I'm here for you. But if you're not committed, if you don't put that ring on, she might feel like you're just half out.
yeah,
And that's a huge thing. Okay, so you have to, as a man, you have to really find out if this is one of your top emotional needs for a woman, because a woman, if she's not in that place of her life, right, where she wants a family, she may not feel like this high need for this one. But then again, you have to find out. You have to open the conversation about her needs, and specifically ask her, do you feel like I'm committed to this relationship? Because sometimes she can feel you're committed just because you take care of her and you do all these other things.
yeah.
Other times it's just the ring, okay? So you just make sure to find out.
Yeah, that's really good. Those are extremely helpful, and I think a lot of guys, there's this big mystery a lot of times that kind of surrounds this relationship with women, and a lot of when they're not taking the time. There's a million reasons why relationships are hard, and not to mention just the organic aspect of that, but from not being taught at an early age how to have a relationship, how to communicate, how to know, even more than just how to communicate, how to know what we even want in life. And then it goes into choosing a partner, from the onset, instead of just letting it happen in whatever way, but actually like equipping your children with the ability to choose the right people in their lives, whether that's friendships or relationships or whatever, with a significant other or whatever, right? Um, so this is extremely helpful, I guess is what I'm getting at. So I have one question, and then I want to real quick get it, and I know we'll kind of close it out with just like some tips that guys can utilize for having an excellent Valentine's night and everything. But I was talking with someone today, and I was kind of thinking through our interview and all that, and in relation to like intimacy and sex with a partner, like so their wife or something like that that has experienced like sexual trauma in the past or been raped or molested or anything like that, and uh, or they've experienced some form of abuse, right, in that realm, the woman, or even the man, I guess, if a woman was watching this. But like, obviously, they're going to have a certain understanding of sex, and they're always going to see it as something
Yeah.
that's kind of dirty and all of this kind of stuff. Like, how do you navigate that as a married man, right? Or, and I know that's probably a long answer, and so, But I think it's important because I think there's a lot of guys that are dealing with this. When you look at the sheer numbers of people who have experienced some level of sexual trauma in their life, right? And men too. I'm surprised by, frankly, the number
Yeah,
of men
men
that I've talked
too.
to. Yeah,
Me, I'm surprised as well, actually, because I
yeah,
don't hear as much about this in Europe, actually, when it comes to, being molested as a child. And it's like so surprising to see so many people coming out about this in America. Like for me, it was shocking at some point to see, many people in my feed talking about sexual harassment in their childhood. And I was like, I was so happy in my childhood, I was playing with the cows in my
yeah.
grandma, my grandma's farm, and it was so good. So
Mm,
um, there's definitely a long answer to that one, but I will try to blend some of the most valuable insights into to deliver
okay,
to the
great. Yeah,
guys who are challenged with this. Um, so when you have, I would take it like this: when you have a woman, when your spouse has been through this, right, in their childhood, and now it plays out in your intimacy, you you really have to find it in yourself, and it's no recipe for this. You have to find that compassion first of all in yourself, and to switch roles and see how you would have want to be treated if you would have gone through that thing, right?
mm,
So compassion, like really looking at your partner through the eyes of compassion and not through the eyes of, hey, my first core emotional need as a man is sexual fulfillment. It's just so hugely discouraging for me that you've got these issues, because that's my first core emotional need, and I want you to fulfill this because that's the truth. We didn't talk about men's needs, but sexual fulfillment is the first one. And when you deal with a woman who actually had this trauma in the past and now she's closed with you, who actually is doing all that he can, right,
yeah,
to be the best man, to actually, enjoy this part of intimacy with her. It's really frustrating. What can be more frustrating, right? But the first thing that you have to understand that um, she really needs to heal from that. And as we all know, if we have a goal, right, if we don't have a map and a plan to reach that goal, it's not going to happen. And what I hear often from men is that my wife has this problem. What can I do? Because she doesn't want to do anything about this, right? She,
yeah,
she just has this, and she constantly tells me that she's dealing with this because she had it in her past, but she's not doing anything about it. And you cannot heal for her, you cannot heal her for her. She's the one who will have to take responsibility at some point around this issue, and she can do this with a therapist, with a counselor, with a psychologist, depending on the depth of the issue. What's happening is that people who get traumas, who have traumas in the past, they actually remain blocked at that age in the past,
yeah.
and that's how they operate in relationships later on, right? If she had, let's say, if she was harassed sexually or abused sexually by an
Hmm.
adult, your woman will be very guarded. I want us to go back a bit, when we imagined the bodies and the chakras, and what I told you about the genital area. It's the area in which women are naturally weaker, let's put it this way.
Yeah,
It's an area where they need to get infused by men, or they benefit from this. And when she was abused, that area was like for first contact with a man's, let's say, a man's penis, or this sexual interaction,
right.
was one that depleted her instead of having this amazing experience of feeling complete.
Yeah,
Now, you have to work around switching that, and it's not an easy thing. But the
yeah,
first thing that you can do as a man is always make her feel safe, because the first chakra, the one that has to do with the genital area, it's all about feeling safe on earth. When that woman had that trauma, she definitely lost connection with the safety that she could feel on this earth, right? And
yeah,
maybe she often walked this earth feeling harmed and feeling unsafe, feeling like she is always in danger. Now, just imagine that her body still has this imprint that she is not safe, and maybe when she engages in sexual activity, she just feels like I'm unsafe. And when a woman feels unsafe, she shrinks. Because she shrinks, she also shrinks physically, and her body is not able to actually receive you in.
Yeah.
It's all on spiritual and mental note, but unless you make her feel safe from a lot of points of view, like financial situation, emotional intimacy, and even this ongoing patience with her progress in intimacy. If you don't give her these three things, she is going to go back to her let's put it this way, her hot hot spot, right? Her
Yeah.
hot spot is her cold spot, better said. It's when she actually experienced that trauma. Now, what I really, really advise men who deal with this is to do their part, but never underestimate and try to encourage the woman to actually deal with this responsibly, right? Because if you find out that you have a certain disease, some people, some people just pray. Other people say, you know what? I'm gonna put a plan to work, right? I'm going to pray. I'm going to eat good. Then I'm gonna see a doctor, or I'm gonna see an acupuncturist, or whatever doctor I believe in, or some sort of, gotta have some sort of plan. That's what an adult does, right? You
Yeah.
don't just close your eyes and expect for it to disappear.
Yeah.
And it's called skeleton in the closet, right? It's
Interesting.
always
So,
going to pop up when you expect less. So if you are in an adult relationship, in a responsible marriage, you want to have a lifelong commitment with your wife, you have, and both of you have to understand that these five core emotional needs, when you sign up for marriage, you also sign up with your heart that you are going to satisfy these. If you have a problem, let's say, as a woman, that doesn't allow for you to satisfy your man's core emotional need, it's you that you have to do something about it for your heart and for his as well. Because when we enter in a relationship, it's not only us. And I have this saying that when you're in a relationship, your body is not only yours. You are going to share your body with your partner. His body is going to be your body, and it's a mutual responsibility for each other's desires, needs, pleasures, etc.
yeah.
It's a problem that has to be tackled from both partners, and if the woman refuses to address it at some point, their roads will split up, right?
Yeah.
Either he's going to go satisfy his needs in another way, in another, with another woman. Either they are going to stay in a very, very unsatisfying, mentally, emotionally damaging marriage, and the
Hmm.
kids are not going to learn anything good, because kids, I have a saying, you don't have to teach your kid anything, because the kid is gonna mirror you, right? All you
Yeah.
gotta do is act nice inside a home, follow your values, be a man of virtue, be a woman of grace, and the kid is just going to do what he sees, and it's gonna
Right.
mirror the relationship he sees or she sees. But I highly encourage men who go through this to not take it lightly, do their part, and at the same time encourage their women to be responsible about this. Because if you're not acting as an adult, you cannot create a worthy relationship and a satisfying relationship. It's just because marriage is not for kids. Marriage marriage is for grown-up people, right?
That's a good point. I think that that's a big reason why we have such a high divorce rate is because I mean, I don't know. I mean, it probably comes off as sounding like I have some superiority complex or something, but it seems like every time I go out anywhere, that it's so hard to find people who are actually interesting to talk to. And I'm looking around most of the time and I'm just like, good Lord, these people are like high schoolers, that have money and, and I mean, it's just very odd, I mean, it's kind of,
Oh my gosh, yes, it's yeah. I heard something similar yesterday. I guess it was a guy who made, I guess, a video. It's a singer in our country who made a little video and said something that, because he was promoting some washing, I don't know, washing substance for the washing machine, something like that, washing product. And he said something like, "Oh, it seems like I am talented. I am talented at washing as well." And one woman in the comments said, you man with, oh, you little kid with a bird, because he had a bird, you little kid with a bird, when you were born, I was washing with my hands, you know.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because a lot of guys, they, you know, you can grow your hair, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have a personality larger than life. That doesn't mean that your values are will grow with your hair, or the certainty, the clarity, or the mission that you have will become more powerful just because you grow your hair. It's all
Yeah.
about doing the inner work.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, I understand you, and that's why it's important to have this kind of groups, to create meetups and masterminds and really bring men who have the same values together. I think it's like the snowball effect. It can go that way. It's not as easy as the crazy things because, you know, how it's said, bad news really go out faster than the good ones.
Yeah.
But then again, you know what I find interesting, Corey? When you create this kind of group like you have, right? When you state in your about or in your statement about the group, who is this group for? This
Mm.
is a very interesting thing because the man who really resonate with the mission or the values that you describe here can sign up. It's not your job to actually bring people who are not about your message in. It's your
Right.
job to actually make yourself so clear that the men who really were longing to meet you and you know, fight with you and you know, grow with you will find you. You
And
see,
the ones
so
that aren't would be
I think
repelled. Like you literally want to be
yeah,
so clear that
exactly.
you repel people. Yeah.
So good. It's so good. It's so fair this way, right? You don't
Yeah.
have to struggle to attract anybody because the right people will be attracted to you. Yeah.
Well, and I think that in it's the same way when most of the guys in here are married, but there definitely are some who are younger who are just kind of starting out, or they may be in transition, like maybe they've had a divorce or whatever. I don't know. Uh, but for
Yeah.
the most part, most of the guys are married. But it's the same thing. It's you've got to on the front end, you really need to understand what you're looking for, in life and in a person when you're getting married to them. And if you rely only on emotion and all that stuff, and like you've talked about, I mean, that stuff fades super quick, that newness of it all. And it's a lot of work at that point. And so the destination and the purpose and all of that stuff has to be kind of worked out on the front end in order for you to want to kind of do the work that's necessary to make your relationship a fruitful one. And that comes from both sides. So your responsibility is to pick a partner, or at least from my perspective, I'm sure you have your own thoughts on this, but is to pick a partner who is in that same mindset, right? And is going to grow with you and that wants to. And even though you're not necessarily trying to lean on each other because you're two separate people, but you're providing enough room and enough safe space for that person to become the best of who they are and vice versa. And you're doing that together in a direction that is together, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
I think most people they see relationships and you hear this word love thrown around all over the place, and I'm like, most of you that say that word have no clue what that even means, And the other day I posted a post and I was basically like, don't claim or don't. I can't remember the exact wordage of it, but it was basically don't try to pretend you are something that you don't even know how to define. And you got all these people talking about, oh, I love you and I love this, and all these people that are just they're mentally not even on tracking with reality, but they claim to be these things, and it's like everybody else has to pay the price a lot of times as a result, and it's because these people we're not doing the work, and I have my own things too that I'm pointing a finger at myself too on things, right? So, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
You know what?
yeah,
You said something interesting about choosing a partner, right?
yeah,
I think that a lot of couples go through that phase because it's the relationship goes through a lot of phases, right? It's the
right,
discovery phase, which it's often called the honeymoon phase.
yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily call it this way, but the thing is that sexual chemistry and sexual tension doesn't have to fade away. There are certain things that you can do to actually, you know what, just increase that throughout time. Now,
mm,
The thing is that beyond this sexual aspect and connection and chemistry, there are two things that I believe are super important for two people to be together throughout time, even when they change, because people change, right?
Right.
The most important things I believe to be a common vision and common values. If you've got a common vision, that bigger picture for the future, and common values, which are basically the glue that keep you together as a human being, not talking about the relationship, they are very important. If you guys have the values and the vision, there are huge chances that you will, face all the challenges, uncertainty, and tension and conflict, and you will strive to get past these, because these higher things are actually, keeping you guys together.
Yeah.
It's not worthy to give up on a partner just because they don't have the same passions as you, right? Or they dislike the food that you like, and the fact that you wake up at 9 and they wake up at 5, and all these things, these are not reasons why you are not compatible. You have to be compatible in your vision and in your values, and anything else is just your spiritual assignment, are the things that you have to overcome, and to actually question within yourself why you are actually holding some walls against your partner. Why are you criticizing them as much as you do? Why don't you see the pure love that they are? Because when you ask these questions, you realize that, hey, these are some things that I have to work in myself. I don't have to change my partner. My partner doesn't have to be perfect for me to be happy. We do have to have these common values and vision, and
Yeah.
then we are two perfect people having a perfect relationship, just because we know when to forgive ourselves, when to tolerate ourselves, and to love ourselves just as we are, right?
That's so good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually a great segue as we kind of close this thing out as far as uh, for tonight, like Valentine's night. A lot of guys they're at work right now, or women maybe too, or whatever else. But yeah, it's time to go home and
Yeah.
kind of explore each other and just have a great time and all that kind of stuff. Do you have any like great tips as far? I mean, obviously you've dove into a lot, and I really appreciate. I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. But any tips or ideas or thoughts about how they can really just kind of make this one for the record books?
Yeah. So here's the thing. It can be just as quick as that. For women, just remember a man's first emotional need is sexual fulfillment. So if you're down for something hot tonight, it will be more than amazing. I think that men are way more simpler than women when it comes to this. But then for guys, remember that the first two core emotional needs for women are affection and intimate conversation. So
Perfect.
if you really want to get something hot tonight, make sure to start your way through it with affection and intimate conversation. Sometimes chocolate and flowers and all these attentions can do a lot, but you really have to be clear upon what your woman is more drawn into. If you know that she's drawn into compliments, make sure to text her today. Don't just wait for dinner to come or you guys to see each other to say something nice. Leave her a note, text her, just build your way up to that moment when you're gonna see each other. If you know that she likes gifts, God, send her something, or just bring her something when you guys meet. Don't just think about what you would like, or
Mm.
fantasize of what you see on the internet. Just bring her chocolate and flowers. No, just try to dive a bit deeper and remember what are the things that she got most excited about when you give her or done for her.
Yeah.
And yeah, just work precisely like a detective. Okay, if she likes to be complimented, then when you see her, work your way through her with words, and be generous with these ones. If she
Yeah.
likes sexual tension and connection, make sure to be really manly and be very commanding when you guys get together. Don't just lean back in your feminine energy and expect her to make the first move because you want to be owned by your woman, because it really has to be the other way around. If
Yeah.
you've got a woman who's into, a sexual connection and touch and all physical things, make sure to make this Valentine about her and remind her who's the man. I think there are
Amazing.
a lot of a lot of things to do. But then again, be mindful of the energy that you have as a man, right? If you know yourself to be a poetic guy who's like leaning in his feminine energy, we haven't talked much about this, but if you know yourself that you're that type of guy and you are with a woman who's masculine, who's like, demanding and who's on it, who's a boss lady, to put it this way, how Americans say it, right? Because I don't use this term, but I get it.
Yeah.
It's a thing. So if you've got this kind of woman, be mindful, because she might want to take the lead, right? Because that's the chemistry that has been made in your relationship. That's how you actually attracted each other. But if you are a guy who actually is dominating and he's leading in his business and in his family, make sure to not switch that energy tonight. Be the same guy, just lead your woman. I would say that surprising her with another place for having your intimate act would be amazing, because what's happening in long-term relationships is that there's no novelty, right?
Yeah.
And when you lack that, it's a missing piece. Novelty, it's exciting. Novelty makes you crave the other a lot more. So if you
Yeah.
can do something like this, hey babe, meet me tonight at that address, and make it be a hotel, a nice hotel, a nice room, it would be something switching her on, because there's mystery, there's a new place, and there's you doing something different for her, which is really, really enticing for a woman.
Absolute gold, Elisa. That was amazing. I loved it. So this conversation, this interview, I mean, it was amazing. I loved the depth of your wisdom, specifically in this subject, but then also your heart to really connect and help men connect emotionally and relationally and all that stuff with their spouses. And I really think that what you talk about even transcends that relational aspect with a spouse. It really is just beneficial for our lives in general and as created beings, and just our place in this world, and kind of how we interact with people just walking down the street, just some of those commonplace things that it's easy, it seems like we've forgotten in this modern world. And so thank you for being you, and for taking the time to share that with us. It was really great. I want you to tell everybody, all the guys watching right now, like how they can get in touch with you, and tell them about your group, the Master Lover group, and all those different things you have going on.
Okay. So guys, I invite you to join my Master Lover group. It's actually called the Master Lover Club. You can find it in a link below. I guess Corey is going to post it, and you also can
I will.
connect with me on my website, elisapopescu.com/contact. If you have questions, if you would love to work with me to deepen your relationship and intimacy with your woman, I can't wait to connect with you and find more about your story, and share with you how I can support you.
And I highly recommend her group. I've actually been in it for, I guess, probably right around a year, maybe. And you always are taking the time to ask interesting questions, and you're a deep thinker, and you add a tremendous amount of value and insight into an area that most men don't even. There's no real place for guys to kind of talk about that type of thing and get like real answers from somewhere that isn't just like straight up perversion, like in kind of like in a, you don't have to go to a strip club or something, to try to figure that stuff out. And so it's like for guys that are not necessarily used to
Yeah.
understanding that whole deal. I mean, it's perfect, and you fit the model of it. And so
I like to stimulate men to think deeper, ask deeper questions. I believe that questions are sometimes more important than answers. Ask yourself deep questions and listen to the questions that other ask is very important. Sometimes you just might not have the inspiration, but when you're in such a group where people ask powerful questions and share a really vulnerable, shameless insights, it makes you think more, it makes you feel deeper, and it helps you grow faster as a man. And that's the point, right? Because my group is about helping you become the best man, lover, and partner you can. Just like the Master Lover Academy, I'm going to launch something really, really nice soon.
go for it.
I'm gonna keep you guys updated. But that's what I'm about, and I say become the best man, lover, and partner, because first and foremost, it's the work with yourself as a man that you gotta do. Self mastery is the foundation of my curriculum. When I work with men, I always put emphasis on this one, because I know that's the first step to becoming your greatest, highest self in every area of your life.
That's so good. Yeah, it's absolutely critical that you work on yourself first, and then, because we have to lead
Yeah.
by example as men. So, Elisa, thank you so much. It was really a blessing, and I'm grateful for you, and I'm looking forward. Hopefully, the guys will connect with you inside of the group. I highly recommend it. And if you ever need anything, you just let me know. And I'd love to bring you back on at some point if you're up for it.
Absolutely. I just love this interview. You are a great interviewer. I love the questions. I love the fact that we actually got down to business and we depicted and get into real life situations because I love these things. And thank you so
Excellent.
much for having me on Valentine's Day. It's a pleasure. It's an honor, and I really appreciate the way you want to lead this man. And I see you do it through your own example. It's the most authentic way. I believe in you, and I'm so excited for what you're gonna create in this world. So if there's anything that I can support you with, just let me know.
Thank you, Elisa. Thank you very much. That means a lot. All right, men. We all heard her. Go get in her group immediately. You're going to add a lot of value and get a lot of value out of it because guys need to be talking about this stuff. And so she's just a wealth of knowledge. We only just scratch the surface of everything that she's got inside. And one of my thoughts on this whole thing is like the two most important things that we experience as humans, death and sexuality, and we don't talk about either one of them, and they kind of just remain in the shadows, and it's like this thing. There's a lot of shame and fear and misunderstanding and all kinds of stuff built around that, and that just needs to stop. So go connect with Elisa and make sure that you're consuming. Like, she's got an awesome course that she's working on, the Master Lover Academy. Make sure you check that out and just connect with her. And you guys have a wonderful Valentine's Day. Go take care of your relationships, the things that matter. And man, make it happen. It's one for the history books. Thank you, Elisa. Have a great day.